I'm going to tell you something you've probably never even thought about. In 2015, while headlines screamed about Portugal's banking collapse and bailouts, European banks were already piloting Ripple and XRP under NDA. Banco Espírito Santo's fall was not just a crisis, it was the pretext for testing the new financial rails. Owed to the collapse of Banco Espírito Santo BES. In mid-2014, BES, Portugal's second-largest bank, reported losses of 3.6 billion. By 2015, the state stepped in, creating Novo Banco with 4.9 billion euros from Portugal's Bank Resolution Fund. The fragility of cross-border liquidity flows in Europe was laid bare. This was a continental warning shot. Correspondent banking chains couldn't absorb shocks anymore. What was happening in parallel? In the same year, Santander Innoventures announced its partnership with Ripple. Not retail crypto hype. Not speculative chatter. It was framed internally as liquidity corridor evaluation aligned with Basel III liquidity standards. Yes, that's the exact phrasing I saw in a confidential deck. For technical evidence from the NDAs. Liquidity corridor simulations, RippleNet tested with EURBRL and EURGBP corridors, modeled against Basel III liquidity coverage ratios (LCR). Settlement latency tests. XRP bridge settlement achieved T+0 netting versus T+2 in legacy RTGS simulations. Stress scenarios. Ripple was benchmarked under distressed sovereign spreads Portugal, Greece to prove it could route liquidity neutrally. This was not exploration, it was compliance-driven. 5 The vocabulary of the agreements tells the story. Protocol-agnostic bridge assets equals XRP. Cross-border liquidity buffers compliant with NSFR equals Ripple corridors meeting Basel standards. Atomic settlement across distressed jurisdictions equals what XRP was designed to do. This was hidden in plain sight, disguised as innovation funding. 6 Santander, deep Eurozone exposure. Latin American dominance, especially Brazil, Mexico, Argentina. Reliance on cross-currency corridors that were fragile under Basel III. If you wanted to test XRP as a global liquidity rail, Santander was the perfect proxy. 7 The conspiracy nobody talks about. Was the fall of BES just mismanagement? Or was it a controlled sacrifice to justify restructuring Europe's cross-border liquidity framework? Notice, the moment BES collapsed, Ripple pilots in Europe began accelerating. Coincidence? I don't think so. 8 Additional signs I've seen. 2015 Santander internal memo refers to Ripple as critical in Basel III liquidity efficiency modeling. 2016 European Banking Authority draft discusses settlement frameworks outside correspondent models, Ripple's fingerprints all over the language. Private Santander Ripple workshop notes, trial corridors with XRP were run quietly under NDA while the public narrative was remittance efficiency. 9 Understand the sequencing. 2014 Banco Espírito Santo collapse exposes systemic fragility. 2015 Bailouts restructure Portuguese banks under new liquidity mandates. 2015 Santander Innoventures partners with Ripple under NDAs referencing Basel III crisis regulation solution. 10 Most people think Ripple's European entry was about payments innovation. In truth, it was about building Basel-compliant liquidity corridors to replace a system already collapsing. The public saw austerity, the banks saw an opportunity. And Ripple was at the table. 11 I will reveal more excerpts from these NDAs. Definitions, scope clauses, annexes referencing Basel III directly. It will become clear that 2015 was not the year of crypto experiments. It was the year banks began transitioning liquidity into neutral, programmable corridors.